Greetings to the J-Sei community. I'm Natsumi Mura. When I began volunteering as part of the kitchen crew in 2019, I was so impressed with the compassion and effort by the staff and volunteers to get meals out to the seniors during this time. Since then, I've joined the J-Sei staff. It's an honor to give back to the community and find ways we can connect generation to generation. To begin our program, we would like to share J-Sei working through COVID, a short video produced for last year's Harvest Festival by board member Kevin Toyama. This is a reminder of what we've been through and how far we've come.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah.
We've not had normal in a long time between the pandemic, politics, violence, the smoke, the fires. It makes one wonder how we move forward in our daily lives and how to find joy and hope. And at this moment, I'm just glad to be a part of the J-Sei community. It's supportive and there's so many wonderful things going on that despite these big challenges that we're facing, there are things that hopefully can bring us joy and engagement and interaction. Jill Shiraki, our education coordinator, just sent out a wonderful collection of upcoming classes and activities that I'm hoping can bring some of us that lightness and joy, just to be with others, to learn something, to be engaged, to maybe even just be distracted. But please check out what J-Sei has to offer, because right now we need all of the positive energy and interaction that we can get. So I'm hoping what we have to offer can get you through some of these challenging moments that certainly are not things that we're used to. So be well and take care out there.
Gonna wash the dust off my soul. Gonna listen to some rock and roll. No cares, come what may, I'm making a beautiful day. Gonna drive my car to the sea, swim out far, 'cause I believe that waves will wash the gray away. I'm making a beautiful day. Let me hear you say, oh, oh, my, I'm learning to fly. Hey, hey, what's that you saying? Let's not forget we're alive. I'm gonna climb that hill behind my house, see what this place is all about. 'Cause from above it all, you can't help but say it's gonna be a beautiful day. It's gonna be a beautiful day. But let me hear you say, oh, 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 my, ends. When we all come together, this song will play. We'll sing, it's a beautiful day. And that's gonna be my beautiful day. Oh, oh, my, my. I'm learning to fly. Hey, hey, what's that you're saying? Let's not forget we're alive. That we're alive.
皆さん、こんにちは。
私たちは楽しい日本語のクラスです。
クラスは2016年の夏から始まりました。
今年で5年目になります。
月曜日10時から11時です。
今、生徒は13人います。
クラスでは旅行や趣味の話をします。
食べ物の話が一番多いです。
日本語の文法も勉強します。
COVIDのせいで Zoom のクラスになりました。
直接会えないのは残念ですが、
Zoom で楽しく勉強しています。
でも J-Sei のおかげです。
ジルさん、いつもありがとうございます。
Happy
Thanksgiving!
Let me see if the light. Okay, now it's on. One more time.
Thanks, Lord Grace.
There's Eugene. Poor dog.
Oh, on the mute. Right there. Right there. Ready. Hi, J-Sei community. We're very thankful. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, perfect.
That was our best take.
Take this moment to decide.
It's so touching to see all of your lovely faces on screen, and we look forward to seeing you soon at J-Sei in person. We would like to give a big shout out to Chef Yuji, Hannah, Manami, Tracy, Kathleen, and all the many volunteers for preparing our harvest lunch. This year, we received a holiday grant from the Red String Foundation with corporate matching from Boeing Company. Here is a message from Stan Adachi, president of Red String Foundation. Our board was excited to learn about the November Harvest Festival. This holiday event, as well as the activities being showcased, provided commendable opportunities for seniors to learn and connect, which is so crucial, especially these days. Thank you, Stan. We definitely feel connected to the efforts of Red String to support the community and honor the legacy of Jeff Adachi, his conviction and voice for justice, and his commitment to community carry us forward. Next, we present Writing Our Stories, our class led by Grace Morizawa. I've had the opportunity to join the class over the past few months, and I've been amazed by their talent and depth. We are so fortunate to have Grace provide a safe space, a thoughtful prompt, and much encouragement in the writing process. I'd like to invite Grace to share how the class experience has shifted during COVID.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We have a real treat for you because you're going to get to hear 4 of our participants speak. And we have the class that meets once a week on Zoom. In the beginning, Zoom was a real challenge, but we learned from each other. One of our participants actually lives in a senior home, and she took lessons on how to use Zoom. So whenever we got on or we had trouble, she prompted us, and we all were able to get on Zoom. It seems like we're all really comfortable now on Zoom. And I think it's a very good media for people to share their writing and listen to each other, because we're really sitting there and listening and reading, and we can see each other's writing because we put it on the screen. And in terms of writing, in the beginning of the COVID shutdown, what a terrific topic to write about. And what a healing experience for all of us to just write about COVID, write about our experiences, help each other. One time we wrote about little places we could go and see and still feel like we're protecting ourselves, like Point Pinot, places where we could be outside and enjoy nature. And hopefully I'll get a map of that to share with all of you. So we've had a really great time on Zoom. And I think the strength is our senior writers are writing their histories. That's what they're supposed to write. But now they're writing fiction and poetry, and they're just taking us into not only the real world of their own lives, but the world of imagination. Thanks.
Next, we have Leslie Tsukamoto. Leslie Tsukamoto's parents were married just before being sent to Tanforan. She was born in Topaz, but had the good fortune to spend most of her growing up years in Berkeley. Leslie has one daughter, one stepson, and 5 wonderful grandchildren and lives in Knoll. Reading her mother's writings motivated her to write with hopes that her grandchildren would read their family stories. To quote Leslie, writing has compelled me to remember, reflect, question, and commit. It's been challenging and therapeutic.
Thank you, Leslie. Yes, this writing class has prompted me to reflect back. So one of our assignments was to write on our early memories. So this was my writing on my earliest memories. 849 37th Street, Oakland, Olympic 48129. The address and phone number are etched in my brain. This was a majestic old Victorian house, which was our home after the war. My grandmother, aunt, and uncle, and 3 cousins lived in the main part of the house, and my parents and my sister and I lived in the small apartment on the 3rd floor. We lived there until I was 5, but to this day, I can draw a floor plan of both residences. I suspect it wasn't quite as big as I remember it, but when you're little, everything seems big. My family and my uncle and aunt's family were subsisting on limited incomes, but as children, we never knew we were poor. We had stay-at-home moms, constant playmates, and lots of freedom to run around. In the large backyard, there was a vegetable garden with tomatoes, string beans, and squash, and a towering pear tree with a tire swing that my uncle made. There was plenty of dirt, so mud pies were always an option, as was playing in the sprinklers. On the corner of the block, there was a small market that sold penny candy. Surprisingly, our moms let us walk up there by ourselves, which was an indication of how much times have changed. With a few pennies, we could buy candy dots on paper strips, small wax bottles filled with sweet liquid, and you could chew the wax after you drank the liquid. Small packets of a Kool-Aid type powder that we would put in our hand and dip with our fingers, leaving our hands, fingers, and tongues red, green, or purple. The woman who ran the store knew us and was always very patient as we tried to decide what to buy with our precious few pennies. Every few days, the Japanese vegetable man would come by with his truck filled with fresh vegetables, tofu, and fish. There were no supermarkets, but we always had fresh food. We left empty bottles on the front porch for the milkman to exchange for filled ones. Once a week, we would walk to the butcher shop with my mother. The butcher knew us and would give us a wiener to eat while my mother shopped. It was a real treat. On numerous occasions, when she bought a chicken, they had to be cleaned and gutted at home, and there was frequently an egg sac inside, with small colored eggs, and even what looked like a fully developed egg. She would also turn on the gas stove and run the chicken pieces over the flame to burn off the small feathers. The smallest singed feathers is similar to burnt hair and still lives in my sensory memory. The house had a large front porch where we could play or check out what was happening in the neighborhood. But the best part of the house was the basement, which ran from the front of the house to the back. It was cool and dark and smelled of damp wood, with boxes full of unknown things that had been packed away before the war or left unpacked after we returned. A bit of light came in from the small window at the front of the house, but we had to make our way in the dark because we couldn't reach the light switch. Unfortunately, it was also full of spiders and other critters, which often sent us running. It was a mixed blessing when my parents bought their own home in Berkeley. I no longer had my built-in playmates, but I no longer had to share one bedroom with the whole family. My kindergarten classmates became my new friends, and even though I became best friends with Peggy down the block, life wasn't the same. I don't have nearly the same recollections of life between the ages of 5 and 10 as I do those early years in Oakland. Perhaps that means that they were the best.
Suzanne. Now we have Suzanne Hitomi. Suzanne is a Sansei, born and raised in Oakland, California, and attending the Alameda Buddhist Temple. She studied music and photography at San Francisco State University. After working at the U.S. Postal Service for 47 years, Suzanne started writing through a creative writing and poetry class. Suzanne is grateful for the J-Sei writing class being a safe place to share the unique aspects of their lives, while also sharing commonalities.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm grateful for having the opportunity to share my 3 poems with you. And the first poem is called Bank Alley, and that's a tribute to my mother who lived in Alameda. Bank Alley, just maple leaves scattered to the wind, reminiscent of mother's memories and her kin. Memories, soil shoved aside, life lived, World War II uprooted her, evacuating with what they could carry, like a thin vessel, empty, hollow, plate so shallow. Upon return to Bank Alley home, nothing remained to claim. Family on the wane. Now, years later, Bank Alley, still barren and sparse, all seems lost. Just a few maple leaves tossed, scattered in the wind. The second poem I'd like to share is called Leaves That Blow. Rose petals on pond, as kimono glows in moonlight, geisha touches comb. Blossoms on the walkway, I walk gently, not to crush, more fall on my head. From her kimono sleeves, she removes a letter of hope and promise. She's angry and sad, sips cool sake in a glass cup to calm feelings down. A lost coin purse found. Shake it, not a sound of coins. Paper money hidden, inside found. Silent, no sound. It showers, I'm wet. My parasol to open. Man helps me, eyes meet. The third and final poem I want to share is A Place for One. A place for 2, no longer 3, but now for 1, I am not done. A fork, spoon, plate, her chair. Mother usually sat. Daddy and I wait for the delicious food by the light of the moon. I miss my mother's cooking. Smells waft across the room that wakes me up from bed so soon. especially waffles and coffee before going to church. While parakeets hop the perch, I, in my Sunday best, wait for Daddy to finish his toast. Miss Mother's cooking, especially Saturday's roast beef. Oh, how I could smell the apple pie and sigh. Taste butter cookies, like aspirins pop in my mouth, like snow and aspen. Memories of icebox cookies I can taste today. As I swing on an apricot tree in the backyard with the bird bath in view, Daddy would pump his bread for lunch. I hide behind a sofa with rice crackers in hands. The kitchen always has the heaven scent of pastries and warmth. When church folks came, I, at age 8, helped serve wonton soup, an ode to my mother and father, who struggled, worked hard to put food on the table. As families and friends gather, oh, an ode to sing of yesteryear. Hear the bacon sizzle, steak grill. My father drinks his Coors Light beer. Mother her strawberry cream cake on her birthday every year. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Emiko Katsumoto. Emiko joins us from El Cerrito, California. She says, I joined Grace's class 4 years ago and wanted to focus on writing for Kiyomi, my granddaughter, and have felt more challenged to expand creatively on the stories I want to tell her. This is what inspires me to write. It's for her.
Before I read my piece, I'd like to extend my thanks to Grace for leading us in our memoir writings and encouraging us to keep writing. I'd also like to express my gratitude to my fellow writers for sharing their wonderful stories and inspiring me to keep plugging away at the keyboard. And I'll read this piece, and I just to let you know, I've received an okay from my husband to read this piece to you. Okay, my piece is called 100% Perfect Man, ? 100% perfect man, was this Kiyoshi when we first met? I must say that he was not. He had some graying hair, was just a couple of inches taller, and he seemed so much older than me. I met him at a young people's church retreat in Squaw Valley in September of 1967. I was on the planning committee, and he came as an advisor for a youth group from Berkeley. We met at dinner where we shared a table with other participants. He was nice enough, and he told me he was a grad student at UC Berkeley and lived in Oakland near the Kaiser Hospital where I worked. My girlfriend was also with me, so he met both of us at the same time. She was very beautiful and petite and had a demure and beguiling smile, as well as enchanting eyes. I did not see him for the rest of this retreat, nor did I give him any further thought. It was a chance meeting that would probably not amount to anything. Lo and behold, a month later, he called to ask me to dinner, and as surprised as I was by this, I consented. He picked me up in this big old Chrysler that he had borrowed from his brother and took me to the Hungry Eye. I can still remember the dress I wore. Unlike other dates I've had, he was fairly talkative and knowledgeable about many topics. The percentage points started to rise. We had a nice time, and I was delighted when he called me again shortly after. This time, we double dated with his roommate, who had just finished his PhD thesis work. Again, we had a fun evening, and somehow he continued to ask me out. Fast forward. He asked me to marry him in February, 5 months after we first met and 4 months after we had started dating. By this time, his percentage rating was 100%, and I was so in love. I could see a happy future unfolding before me. We were married exactly a year after we first met. As in any marriage, we've had our ups and downs, but I can honestly say that we've both learned from each other and have grown together through good times and bad. Many years later, he confessed that after meeting me and my friend, he had actually called her for a date first, but there was no answer from her phone. So then he called me. After I found this out, my 100% perfect man lost a few points. But after a few gains and losses more, he's back up to 99%. Why 99% and not 100%? Well, in life we know that there's always room for improvement, isn't there? But I count myself very lucky to have a husband like Kiyoshi, and after 2 children and 1 grandchild, we have now been married for 53 years, and I chuckle when I tell the story of how we met and how I was really his second choice. I wonder what my percentage rating is from his perspective.
Thanks, Emiko. And finally, and definitely not least, we have Libia Yamamoto. Libia Yamamoto from Richmond has completed the first of a 3-part memoir tracing her family life in Peru through their tragic kidnapping to an internment camp in Crystal City, Texas, to resettlement and life in the Bay Area.
Thank you. I'd like to take this chance to thank J-Sei for the writing class, and I'd like to thank Grace for her guidance and direction. I'm enjoying the writing class, although I have a lot to learn. My piece is called The Deportation. After the World War II started, the U.S. government kidnapped the Japanese from Peru. My father was one of the early ones, and this is the day that he left. Oh. Banzai, 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 hail, hail. The 15 plus men were gathered together about 70 feet from the police station facing the east. They raised their arms and hailed to the Emperor of Japan. They were Japanese men after all, feeling betrayed by the country they wanted to adopt as their new homeland. I, Libya, started school in April of 1942, and my sister and I were attending a school in Chiclayo, only about 15 miles away, but the road was bad. In order to make commuting to school easier, we lived with our uncle and aunt in the city. January is a vacation month, and we normally would be home. But my sister's friend had a birthday and invited us to it and a sleepover on January 6, 1943. We also stayed in the city to celebrate Uncle's birthday, which was on the 7th of January. However, unbeknownst to us, on the night of the 6th, an Hacienda police came to our house and picked up my father saying, "I'm sorry, Senor Maoki, but you have to come with me." My father was puzzled because he had done nothing wrong. So he asked to speak to the Hacienda owner, Senor Pardo, who repeated saying, "I'm sorry, Senor Maoki, but there's nothing I can do. This is beyond my control." Then father was taken to the Chiclayo City Jail. The next morning early, he was let out of jail, and he found that a group of Japanese men were picked up, and he saw a German with a small satchel. So he asked the guard, "If he can have a satchel, can I go home and pick up a change of clothing?" The guard told him to hurry back. My father, Victor Saburo Maoki, was well respected in Chiclayo, and obviously trusted to let him go on his word that he would return. Then he went to the panaderia at the bakery, his closest business to the jail. It was about 2 blocks from the city hall. He was glad to find his chauffeur Torres there. Then he picked up a safe and asked Torres to take him to the hacienda. He first went to Senor Pardo's home and left the money there until he contacted him. but to keep it a secret. Then he had Torres take him to a friend's house and left a safe there with a promise that he, the friend, would not say anything to anyone. Then he had Torres take him home, where mother was surprised to see him, as she did not know where her husband was taken. Father instructed her to hurry up and be ready to go to Chiclayo, picked up a few changes, put them in a small case, and had Torres return him and mother to Chiclayo. First, she went to the tire repair shop, the Vulcanizadora, another business my father owned, but had my uncle manage, and found that his brother was picked up already. So he gave my aunt instructions on what to do with the Vulcanizadora and the noodle making machine that went to the bakery panaderia with my mother, and gave the manager and mother instructions on what to do with that premise. Then left with Torres. I was at the panaderia, but did not know that was goodbye, so I did not say anything to him, just watched him leave. Then mother and I went to the police station. We got there. When we got there, father had organized the men, and they turned to face the east. Then, after finishing their banzais, they turned and faced us and started to sing very gallantly a Japanese national song, Miyoto Kai no Sora Kete. As they sang, they waved goodbye to us. About 10 women, wives and daughters, mother and I included, stood sobbing and waving. I wanted to run to my father and give him a goodbye hug, but I stood frozen, mainly because of the atmosphere around me, and also because my mother was holding my hand. My father was a businessman and often took business trips. I was very close to him, and he would tell me where he was going, when he was returning, and what mode of transportation he was using to return. Sometimes it would be by bus, and sometimes by car by our chauffeur. But I knew when he was coming home, so I would look for him at the bus stop if he was coming home by bus, or at home if he was coming home by car. As we stood watching the men waving goodbye, I asked mother in Spanish between sobs, ¿Dónde se va? Where is he going? I don't know, Shiranai, mother answered in Japanese. ¿Cuándo va a regresar? When is he coming back? Sob, sob. Shiranai, I don't know. We kept waving as we watched the men board a canvas-covered truck and singing. Father was the last to get on board the truck. He continued to wave to us and finished the song when the truck started moving away from us. We continued to wave goodbye, but as soon as the truck moved away far enough, the sobs turned to audible cries. We were all devastated, and I felt abandoned. It was the most traumatic experience I had in my life, in my short life of 7 years. We turned and sadly went home. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Thank you to all of the writers for sharing your work. Other writers who currently participate in the class are Jonathan Hirabayashi, Joyce Nakamura, Flora Ninomiya, Joanne Wong, Tak Yamamoto, Pat Yamamoto, Eloy McCoy, Kazue Nakahara, Masato Nakashima, and Lori Ozone. And thank you, of course, to Grace. This year, we celebrate our 50th anniversary at J-Sei. To showcase J-Sei, We have created a series of short videos on our programs and services, produced by videographer Nancy Otto. You can view the videos on the nutrition program and social services on J-Sei's YouTube channel. The following video, J-Sei Engaging, a Lifeline, features Richard Furuzawa, Tsutomu Yoshida, or Yoshi, Chizuko, Coffey, and Haruko Fuchs. We share the friendships and connections that participants are making through J-Sei.
We haven't played together for close to a year and a half, maybe 2 years. We're just doing Zoom, and that's not a lot of fun if you have 11 band members and you're doing Zoom. That got old real fast.
So Family Festival for the second year has had to be online. This year we tried to do a somewhat hybrid experience in our parking lot by having music by Sentimental Strummers and offering shaved ice. Last year and this year we were able to order bento from a number of chefs, local chefs, through our connection that was arranged through Yuji. So Yuji provides a bento and he invites other of his fellow chefs to also create something. And that's been a great way to broaden our reach and also to support them as culinary talents.
Your mind and your body aren't occupied. You're just going to waste away. This keeps me active, and I get bored easily unless I'm doing something. So I'm always doing something.
I am so excited to be here today. I was really looking forward to seeing everyone because last year we weren't in person. People were here to pick up food and then to watch the event online. But today we have our entertainers, we have our food booths open, and it's just going to be so fun to see people coming in. I'm on the top of the world looking down on creation, and the only explanation I can find is the love that I got ever since you've been around. You're way at the top of the world.
Since the last time we met, for me, we got to the Sentimental Strummers, we got to play on Sunday. And that was so much fun. And everybody in the Strummers really enjoyed playing at the J-Sei Family Fest. We had a good time. And then the bonus was always Aloha shaved ice. That was that we got at the end. And that was the best shaved ice ever.
Fuzzy and his wife Jerry have been participating in some of our programs and joined a new group that we have, which is called Aging Together. And they have developed a really strong bond with one another. I think it's really been a lifeline for them.
But one thing I'm finding is playing ukulele, I can play better now not looking at the sheet because certain things I can memorize. So
I think I've heard that dancing and learning an instrument, playing an instrument strengthens the mind.
When our son got married, you know how you have to, do that dance or whatever. So we went to Gil and took some lessons so we could look kind of decent. He's always counting in my ear, throwing me off because it was like, I says, quit counting, count to yourself.
everybody trusts everybody. You can say whatever you want, and it stays within the group.
We'll get in the front, all right, now?
Yeah. Yoshi came to live with us going on about 5 years ago, and I found J-Sei, which was like, I thought for sure some spirits are on my side, because his quality of life has gotten so much more richer because of J-Sei. At first he didn't want to do Tai Chi, he didn't want to do watercolor. Now he's just thriving.
There used to be a small group of people who would come daily and have lunch here on a regular basis. And one of Yoshi's good friends, Aki, was one of our regular diners. And Aki kind of ushered him in. Yoshi is primarily Japanese speaking, and Aki is very bilingual. So really helped him fit into the fold. The first time he came back for Tai Chi was so heartwarming for Aki and Yoshi to see each other, like old friends getting together after 18 months of sheltering in.
When I first picked up Yoshi, you could tell he was just coming because it was suggested that he comes, but now he loves this place and he can't wait he's waiting for me at the front door every time I come pick him up. So I think he actually loves coming here.
He's working on this one now, the polar bear. But he did this just recently.
The painting has allowed them to just be able to focus and not be so constrained by the words they can't think of or the stories they don't remember.
That's inside. The outside is over here.
My mom's health, I could see there was just problems cognitively. It became apparent that she was not really able to live on her own anymore. And I discovered J-Sei, and I saw that there was this flower arranging class, and I brought her to it. At first, she really didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then a little lady named Haruko kind of reached out to her and asked her in Japanese, "Can you show me how to do this?" And my mother has been a floral designer for over 40 years, and she had studied Japanese flower arranging when she was young. And so she started helping her, and it just kind of blossomed from that. J-Sei has given my mom something to look forward to. In particular, she's struck up a friendship with Haruko, and I've struck up a friendship with her daughter, two only children with fathers of both deceased and taking care of our moms full time pretty much. It's been fantastic. I don't know what I would have done, especially when the pandemic hit, if we didn't have something to kind of look forward to, whether it was the movie night, classes on Zoom, or four of us kind of forming our own little pod.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was so happy that I was able to, learn flower arrangement because I remember my mother was doing ikebana, but I never experienced that.
It helps her to stay connected with life in general, and it's helpful to have something that's familiar with traditions that they grew up with, that were important to them as children and as young adults. And it's meant a lot to me to discover this. It's been truly like a lifeline.
This is a risky business.
Yes, yes.
It's a risky business, and that's the thing that makes it interesting.
Yes.
Right? It's like, how far can we go and still have it work?
When I came home, I saw the big branch that you got from Sensei Keiko, no?
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that this didn't shut down completely during the pandemic, and that the staff and the volunteers still did everything they could to make it as much of an experience and to keep people as connected.
So we've been able to offer the bento where people pick up and then join us online. And we share the same meal and have conversation.
Hey, Leslie. I like the jersey.
I also do some baking for movie night with 3 other ladies. So we help make the dessert, and that's a lot of fun.
So tonight, my mom has come over to Annette's house, and Annette is here with her mother, and we always get together once a month for J-Sei movie night. Yeah. Or maybe there's
This one is really good. Yeah.
Thank you to Fuzzy, Yoshi, Chizuko, and Haruko for sharing your experiences at J-Sei. Our hope is that we will have the chance to see more of you in person at J-Sei very soon. For our featured guests, we would like to introduce Glen's jazz trio. Glen Iwaoka, aka J-Sei Driver 1, has been playing the drums since he was 5 years old. He was featured early on with the Stardusters, a Sansei youth band from San Mateo, directed by his father, George Iwaoka. They performed at various community events in the San Francisco Bay Area. Glen performs with multiple artists throughout the Bay Area and likes to remain obscure, keeping his beat on the down. Here's what we found in the archives from Melvin and the Mellotones. Glen Iwaoka on drums, native of San Mateo, is one of the great craftsmen on drums. He is often referred to as the Quiet Storm, in much demand because of his light touch and his solid rhythm. Glen has been featured and toured with various theater companies in percussion. Karen Horner has been studying and playing the bass since age 11. She has been in the ranks of the Bay Area Freeway Philharmonic and has performed professionally many styles of music, including jazz, bluegrass, gospel, salsa, and folk. Tim Wat has recently retired from teaching business strategy. He's been a jazz pianist for many, many years and can enjoy this even more after retiring from his day job. thanks to Glen Iwaoka on drums, Karen Horner on bass, and Tim Wat on keyboard. We are now ready to ease on into the holiday season. We would like to share with you our upcoming J-Sei Asian Artisan Craft Fair that will be held virtually with 5 days of shopping from November 26th to the 30th. We are planning a mini holiday marketplace for Sunday, December 5th, the day to pick up your purchases, with an opportunity to order bento and browse and purchase other food and gift items. Remember, J-Sei celebrates its 50 years of community care and culture. Continue to join us through our upcoming events as we celebrate this milestone. Happy harvest. Thank you.